My dear friends, on this 18th Sunday in Ordinary Time, Holy Mother Church calls us to be wise in using the material things and to focus our attention on the heavenly realities more than on the earthly shadows. The Holy Mother Church calls us to live a Christ-centered life. The readings remind us that the earthly riches and the treasures are fragile, but God's love is steady and secure. Our security and peace come from trusting in God rather than the riches of the earth. My dear friends, we are given a call to get rid of greedy and avarice and become people of gratitude and generosity. I am reminded of an old story of a very wealthy man who died and went to heaven. He was taken for a tour by an angel in the celestial city. As they were going, he noticed a magnificent house and asked the angel, "Who lives in this house?" The angel replied him saying, "Your gardener on the earth lives in this house." The rich man got excited and thought to himself, "If my gardener lives in such a big and better house, I would enjoy a better house than this." As they were going, he happened to notice even more magnificent and beautiful house. He asked the angel, "Whose is this house?" The angel replied saying, "She was a missionary who lived for God on this earth." And the rich man got more excited and thought of his own house. Finally, they came to a small hut with no window and a small door. This is the most modest house the rich man had seen in the eternal kingdom. The angel told the rich man, "This is your home." The rich man got very much shocked and surprised and asked the angel, "All the houses are bigger and better, and why is my house very small?" The angel smiled and told him very sadly, "My dear friend, this is what we could do with all that you gave us to work with." Dear friends in Jesus Christ, out of the abundance that we receive, we are to give cheerfully to God and to the people in need. We must respond joyfully to the generosity of God. When we are generous, God will be more generous towards us. It is said, when God blesses us, we should not raise the standard of living, but we should raise the standard of giving. My dear friends, in the first reading taken from the book of Ecclesiastes, the reading encourages us and teaches us that the earthly riches and the treasures and the success, the power and the positions will not give us meaning and joy for our life. As a wise people, we must find meaning and joy in God and God alone. In the second reading, St. Paul encourages the believers to seek the things which are above and focus our attention on God's kingdom. We have a call to place the spiritual growth as the first priority and not the material concerns. In the Gospel of the day, through the parable of the rich fool, Jesus warns us against greed and avarice and storing up things on this earth. The Gospel teaches us that the selfish ambitions and desires can separate us from God and others. My dear friends, we have a beautiful point to reflect from the Gospel of the day. Jesus says that God called the rich man a fool. Why did God call the rich man a fool? Is it because he had more riches? Or is it because he committed a grave sin? Dear friends, the rich man is called a fool because he forgot three things in his life. Firstly, the rich man forgot God and failed to become rich in what matters to God. He forgot the fact that God is the owner and giver of all the riches and the possessions. And he failed to be grateful to God. He failed to realize that he is the manager and steward of the riches given by God. He was selfish to the core. He always thought of himself. We hear in the gospel, he repeatedly says, I and mine. He has no place for God in his heart. Secondly, he was called fool by God. He forgot the other in need. When he removed God from his heart became very narrow and constricted, with no place left for others. He forgot the fact that God has blessed him with enough riches and the wealth, not only for himself, but to those who are in and around him. He gave no thought of the poor laborers who worked very hard. He did not think about his poor relatives and the poor people in his community. The richer he grew, the greedier he became. We have a wonderful Roman proverb which says, money is like a sea water. The more a man drinks, the thirstier he becomes. In his riches, he forgot God, he forgot his neighbor, and he thought about only himself. He became selfish to the core. He is called fool because he failed to share his possessions with others. Thirdly, he is called fool by God because he failed to realize the fact that life is short and momentary, and he failed to know that he is going to die soon. Dear friends, the rich man thought of building big barns and warehouses to store up things for himself and to live a luxury life by eating and drinking and making merry. But he forgot the fact that his life is going to come to an end. He thought of building barns and warehouses, and he forgot to secure a place in eternal kingdom. What can we learn from the parable of the rich fool and from the readings of the day? My dear friends, our life is a gift from God. We need to be grateful and accountable to God for all the riches that God has given to us. And we need to raise our hearts in thanking God for what we are and be accountable for all that we use in our life. At the same time, we must be readily and willingly share our gifts and blessings with others. When we share what we have, God will bless us more and more. And we are one way are the rich. Though we are poor financially, we may be blessed by God with intelligence, with a sense of humor, or with different kinds of gifts and talents. And we need to give our helping hand to those in need. The famous philosopher Emmanuel Levinas says, the experience of the other's need, particularly the material vulnerability, disrupts the self's egoism and compels an ethical reaction. He says, the material needs of my neighbor are my spiritual needs. Dear friends, when we share, when we care, when we give ourselves to others, we become rich and wise in the sight of God. When we amass and accumulate and be indifferent and insensitive to others, we become fool in the sight of God. The Eucharist, Jesus gives himself freely, his body and blood. He nourishes us spiritually and he strengthens us. Jesus is a provider and generous giver of our life. We must imitate Jesus in our life, and we must be people of generosity and gratitude. Therefore, dear friends, let us be grateful to God. Let us be helpful to those in need. Let us be thoughtful of the final destination and live as people of generosity and gratitude. Live Jesus.